Alright, so Gohan versus Cell is one of these fights that I don't really know why it exists. It's kind of like Kid Buu versus Buhan. In the manga, it might be a bit debatable. In the anime, it's pretty clear cut that it's Kid Buu. But when it comes to Cell versus Gohan, there's just so much to this that just doesn't make this battle make any sense. First of all, I know there's the trio of who's more credible between Koyama, Akira Toriyama, and just not really Toyotaro, but also the Daizenshu. The fact is, there's contradictory evidence all around. Things that the Daizenshu and the data books get wrong, like saying that Supreme Kai and Goku are relative. Things that Koyama has gone back and forth on Akira Toriyama. So the best thing I think to do is just to look at the series, what it says, what actually happens in it, and then play off of if those things make sense corresponding with it. Like, for example, there is a statement saying the Cell Juniors are relative to Cell in power. That doesn't really make much sense. But the most important thing now to note for me is that Gohan in this fight is holding back the whole time. Pretty not debatable. He doesn't power up. He doesn't try to obliterate Cell. He makes it very clear that he's not trying to obliterate Cell. It doesn't make sense to say he went all out against the Cell Juniors, because I know there's a statement that pertains to that. And then that he just did the same thing to Cell, even with the Kamehameha, which you would also be implying that the Kamehameha he shoots against Cell is the same power as it is with the father-son Kamehameha. That just doesn't really make sense. Or I should say the one-arm Kamehameha before the father-son part, but regardless, that doesn't really make much sense. It's clearly not at the same level of power. Now, how do we know he's suppressed outside of the fact that he literally says that he's not trying to kill him? We know it because Cell himself powers up. First of all, Cell thinks he can do a lot of things. Just because Cell thinks he can do something, because I know he thinks he can beat Gohan when he comes back, that doesn't mean anything. Not only that, he's shocked at the fact that Gohan literally laughs at his power. And he's not holding back when he gets there. Gohan can sense how strong he is. But we know Cell powers up into that big buff form after Gohan has humiliated him. And he's even stronger, and Gohan does not power up at all then. Yet he obliterates him with the same amount of ease. That should not happen if Gohan was in some way, shape, or form relative to Cell to where he couldn't even kill him with the Kamehameha in a single hit. But the biggest thing, or I guess the second biggest thing, because there is something in the Majin Buu saga that's worth noting for this debate, but the fact of the matter is, Ki and Ki suppression are two different things. We're going to make a video on Ki suppression and why it's one of the most misunderstood things in Dragon Ball, because when it comes to your power level, there's more that matters than the amount of Ki you're using. The physical body and its output matter. It's the reason there's this misconception when people think Goku's like a regular human being without Ki. That is a lie. But when it comes to Gohan losing over half of his power, yes, that is his power, not just his reserves of power. It doesn't even make sense to say when he has half the reserve, if he's doing an attack that puts all of his Ki into it and is supposed to go out in one big blow, that it would be the same. That doesn't make any sense. But regardless, we know Cell is not holding back the whole time. When the beam struggle even starts, Gohan is. It's blatantly noted. First of all, he's an 11-year-old child who is mentally nerfed, and we know how that affects you in Dragon Ball with your mind, body, and spirit. Second of all, we also can take that Goku himself does not actually know how strong Gohan is here. He blatantly makes the realization, or comes to the realization, I should say, that Gohan is holding back. He did not realize that at first, but then he realizes it and asks Gohan to stop doing that, because he realizes that Gohan, not only is he mentally nerfed, not only has he lost over half of his Ki, he as well is worried about what's going to happen to the planet. So this exchange, to make it even more clear, is basically Gohan struggling, having a conversation while holding off the Ki blast that Cell is going all out with. And while this is happening, he's just holding it in place. He's not even really trying to push forward because he doesn't have the actual willpower to do so yet. But another big thing that I've seen that's kind of ridiculous is people who want to say that, like, Vegeta, while he's weakened, when earlier a Cell Jr. caught his Final Flash, and the Cell didn't even have any issue. Couldn't even pretend that he had any issue stopping the Final Flash. To act like this weakened Vegeta, using a Ki blast, after he's already used who knows how much of his power, against Cell when he tried to kill him, somehow really affected Cell in a way that he lost the beam struggle because of it. That's not true. He's still shooting the blast, outputting all this energy that he's not holding back just because he physically looks in another direction does not change anything. The fact is, he was still going all out. This Ki Blast did nothing unless Gohan and Cell are both way weaker than you think they are. It didn't do anything to him. What did do something though? An attack that Gohan literally tries to stop from killing Vegeta, because it is aimed to kill him, not to hurt him, to obliterate him, probably to atomize him. Gohan does not block it, he doesn't even try to protect himself. He dives in front of it with half of his body, no way guarding it, and loses the ability to use his arm. It echoes what happened with Future Gohan when he was weakened in the future timeline. So, just to reiterate all of this, before going on to the Majin Buu saga, and really the biggest nail in the coffin for all of this, what we see happen with Gohan is he is mentally nerfed as an 11-year-old. He has lost over half of his ki, which does matter for the amount of overall power he has. And he is holding back while Cell is not. This is all things that play into effect as to why the Beam Crash happens the way it does. Goku, at this point, would be a drop in the bucket even if you thought he did help somehow from projecting his spirit on the Gohan. He would be a drop in the bucket. It really wouldn't change much, especially if you think Perfect Cell and Gohan were somehow relative, which is what you have to think if you think he was going all out against Cell and didn't just obliterate him. Super Perfect Cell makes the claim that he got an amp that was similar to Gohan's, and which, by the way, something that I forgot to mention that I should have already is Gohan is not a normal Super Saiyan 2. Losing half of his power does not mean he's as strong as Super Saiyan Gohan. His Super Saiyan 2 is not like the rest of his. This is much more than him just ascending past the Super Saiyan. This is his rage, this is his potential, and everything he has coming out all at once. This is a much bigger increase than just 2 times, because there's a lot more happening with him. So when he loses over half of his power, no. Super Saiyan Gohan, even though we don't see how strong he is against Cell, is not as strong as Super Perfect Cell. He's not even close. This Gohan is something completely different. But now to get on to the biggest and most damning piece of evidence when it comes to all this. In the Majin Buu saga, we see Deborah, who just from moving and spitting on them, it is made clear that they think he's on the same level as Super Perfect Cell. To them, that was a Super Perfect Cell little feat. He's just as strong off of that. They watch him fight a Gohan that they've made very clear over and over and over and over again. He is weaker than his teenage self, or his 11-year-old self, to be clear. They come to the conclusion from watching Gohan clash with this Deborah that this Deborah is actually stronger than they thought he was, meaning they put him above Perfect Cell. And Vegeta goes on to say, it doesn't matter, he still should have beat him already. And this is him acknowledging that Gohan is weaker than he was as a teen. And he thinks that he still should have managed to beat Deborah already. Meaning, in their minds, we have Super Perfect Cell, Deborah, then weakened Gohan, then teen Gohan, or the 11-year-old one. Meaning, it doesn't even really matter how you want to interpret the fight prior. In their own assessment of these people's power level, Gohan has an 11-year-old is stronger than everyone else there. Or at least, he's stronger than Deborah and Cell. There wasn't a comparison between the two. There was never anything that made them relative. It never should have even been a fight in their minds from a weakened team, or the actual Team Gohan and Deborah. That never should have been a fight. That's why Vegeta got so mad, even when he acknowledged he was weaker than his 11-year-old self. He still thinks he should have beat him already, not saying that he should have been stronger than his 11-year-old self. Which for me is the final nail in the coffin. It really makes it very clear, no. He and Cell are not close to each other at all. They never were, they never have been. Cell thinking, again, the guy who thinks he can do everything, that Gohan's crazy for wanting to fight him and thinking he could beat him easily, doesn't mean anything. When Gohan's much better at sensing people's power levels. It's just a fact. But that's all I've really got to say when it comes to this. This is kind of a weird debate in my mind. Again, people have. I think there's more than enough context, but I don't know. Like, subscribe, let me know what it is you think. Disagree, agree. I don't really know how anyone could come to a different conclusion, but again, if you do have a different conclusion, I'd love to hear it, because I've never heard an actual genuinely good argument as to why Cell should be much more powerful. And just one last note for anyone who wants to say they think Goku or Piccolo can actually sense Gohan's power, because I will be talking about Majin Vegeta versus Gohan later. No, they can't. But if you do think they can, and if they're accurate in their assessments, Goku tests Gohan multiple times, you're stronger than Cell.